the existence of this print method in list61b means we don't have to write something for slist. But we can see here that it's rather inefficient. So what can we do about it? One thing is we can just override what the boss says. So of course, since we're a subclass, we've talked about how overriding is possible, and it turns out in this case we can actually write a print method in slist even though it's already been implemented in list61b. And in this case, we're really overriding what the boss said. We're ignoring how the boss does things. We're going to do things our way because we trust ourselves. So I'm going to say override here, and then I'm going to say public void print. And now I'm going to think, how do I print in a more efficient way than going through and getting over and over? Well, actually, what would make more sense is stepping through the list item by item and just printing as we go. And so we could do something like this, for node p equals sentinel, p not equal to null, p equals p dot next. Okay, so the idea is I'm going to go until the pointer hits null, and I'm going to, every time I finish the loop, I'm going to step forward one step. Then I'll put system.out.print. We'll print out p.item, and we'll add a space. Now there's a tiny little bug here, which is we don't actually want to print out the sentinel item. We want to start at sentinel.next, but this code here should work. And so if I go to isAdemo, actually I'll prove to you that it's working by saying, let's see, the boss doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, so we'll do that first just to let us know that this is actually running. And then when I go to isAdemo and I run this, we get the boss doesn't know what he's doing, elk dwell on existential crises. Okay, so in this case, we're actually using this print method, and we know it's more efficient because it's going to use each node exactly once instead of iterating over and over. Now, one issue with this that I want to bring up with override is it's quite handy to have. So let's imagine that we had not put override, and instead of print, we'd actually mentally typed pernt. This code will still compile, right? It's okay to have a pernt method. Nobody's going to say no. But now when we call isAdemo, when we run the code, we actually use list61b's. So the error here is that we didn't actually override. If we had the override tag, we would have gotten a hint that said, uh-oh, this isn't actually an override, and we'd realize, oh, I see, we misspelled print. So that's a nice thing. So this is our new, better print method. You can always override if you want things to work better. So here's a question that I'd like you to ponder, just briefly. Recall that if x is a superclass of y, then an x variable can hold a reference to a y. So in other words, in English, as an example, if you have a list61b variable, it can hold the address of an slist. So in the example we've been running here, we said slist equals new slist. Now the question is, what happens if we change this to list61b? Is this going to work? So we'll compile. We already know that from before. But the question is, which one of those print methods do you think it's going to call? So think about what you think. Okay. So it turns out that it will actually use the one you want, which is print. In fact, let's try it out. We run it, and we get the boss doesn't know what he's doing. Elk dwell on existential crises. That's great. And this is the sensible choice. And the question is, how does it work? So this ends up being a bit of an involved topic, so I'll move to the next video. But it's something that turns out to be simpler than you might think. So often people find it confusing when they're first learning Java, knowing exactly how to know when one's being called versus the other. But we'll tease it apart in the next video.